Well, good morning, my friends. Welcome to everyone here and everyone joining us online today. We are so glad you have arrived, braved the storm that went away very quickly and might just come back later this afternoon. We are a people creating beloved community here at First Unitarian. We believe in practicing and promoting the UU values of justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity in our congregation, and that those values always spring from the love at the center that guides us all, my friends. We are people of purpose in this church. We work to make sure that everyone feels welcome in this meeting house. So if what you hear today resonates with you, you might want to consider becoming part of this way cool family of seekers and keepers of this long dream. We will be having a new member service coming up in probably March. So if you want to become a new member, that's when to do it so that you can vote in the annual election. Okay, let's see. First Unitarian in New Bedford recognizes the land that we inhabit and enjoy sits on the unceded ancestral land of the Wampanoag. We give respect to the people of the First Light and their ancestors. We honor them in this church. A couple of quick little housekeeping things. If you're new here, as I said, you want some more information, sign that thing and put it in the offertory basket or hand it to me later. We are live streaming, as you know, so be aware of that and join us for coffee hour right after the service, right down through that door. Now, let's see. Let's do a quick moment of movement, because I feel like we all need it. If you want to get up for a moment. All right, let's take a few deep breaths. All right, last one. Let's let out a little primal scream, maybe. Oh, I know I needed that this week. I hope you did too. So go ahead, have a seat. Don't be afraid. Who's going to light our chalice today, Yasmin? I was hoping we'd have more kids here because I really wanted them to lead the primal scream because they're so good at it. All right, if you light the chalice, that would be great. The words for our chalice lighting are from the great civil rights leader Ella Baker. Give light and people will find the way. I sure hope so. And our opening words this morning are from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality. I believe that unarmed truth and conditional love will have the final word. Again, may it be so. So rise in body or spirit as you are willing and able. And now I almost always sing this hymn at the end because it's so rousing, but I was hoping we'd have some kids here today. I know with the snow that's not always easy to get kids to come out. But let's sing, lift every voice and sing, number 149, 149.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing on. full of the faith that the dark past has brought us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat had not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers died. We have come over a way that with tears had been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee, lest our hearts drunk with the wine of the world we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land.
Have a seat, my friend. Now, please take the time to greet one another. Say good morning. All right, everyone, if you'll find your order of service, we're going to recite our covenant together, which is printed in there. We come together as a religious community, upholding freedom of conscience, right relationship, and the inherent worth of all people. We value our diversity and pledge to care for one another in the spirit of compassion, to speak and listen to each other with respect, and to promote justice and kindness in the world. Miss Yasmin, got a story for us today?
So, as I'm reading today, we're passing the torch. So, if you want to grab it, give a little whatever comes to your desire. You don't have to know that in spirit. You will be part of this collective love we share. We are a people of justice, and I haven't been here for a little bit, and I miss everyone, and I didn't get to wish you a happy new year, so take care of that. So today, I want to talk about Fannie. Anyone here know about Fannie Barrier Williams? Because
I didn't really know, so that's what I love about learning new things. So, we're celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King because he was a man who taught the world to stand up for justice with love and courage. But he wasn't the only one who practiced resistance, because before he came along and taught us these beautiful things, we have someone called Fannie Barrier Williams. And yes, she was a Unitarian Universalist, of course. So we're going to talk about how it feels and means to live our lives as the UUs that we are and practice justice, and it's called to dismantle racism. So let's hear her story. About 150 years ago, before cars and airplanes, when women would wear long skirts and you had to travel by train, there was a little girl. Her name was Fannie, and she lived in New York with her parents, her dad and her mom, her little sister Ella. And Fannie went to school. She played in the snow. She went to church on Sundays. Her dad was a deacon. Her mom taught Bible school. Just a typical, regular little family. Now, in many ways, her life was so ordinary and happy. But one thing made it different. Back then, people believed some people were better than others. As a matter of fact, men were better than women, and white people were better than black people. And Fannie Barrier was a little black girl. And when she grew up, you know what she wanted to do? She wanted to study music and art. I could relate. But when she went to Boston, her classmates said, "We don't want you here. Your skin is dark and you don't belong. And if you stay, we go." So she went to Washington, D.C. to study painting. And her teacher said, "You need to stay behind the screen, because if they see you, you're not going to be able to study painting and art." And over again, they told Fannie, "You don't belong, you're not good enough." And it wasn't fair. This is racism. And she knew it was wrong. And so when she was older and moved to Chicago, some women invited them to join her club. And you know, it had to be a year-long process before a vote came out. And they finally said, "Yes, you could join." And they all left. So most days, Fannie felt angry and sad. But she decided to not sit with the anger and the sadness, because she said, you know, it's a lot easier to join the people who think and breathe like you. So her husband at this time, Mr. Williams, they decided to join the All Saints Unitarian Church in Chicago, and they started a hospital. And they took everyone, and it was a beautiful community center. And they had groups for people to study music and art, of course. And she also helped a women's home get started. And believe it or not, she was one of the original founders of the NAACP. And she fought for women's right to vote. And she didn't live to see everything that she dreamed of, but she decided to do something about it instead of to sit with the hatred. So she showed what it means to practice justice and not just wish for it. And so today, that's what I'm thinking about these days after witnessing things and seeing things that my brain doesn't want to see. And I think, what am I going to do when I'm teaching all day and I can't be with my people to protest? I think about this. What I love about this story is that while Dr. King carried the torch to fight racism, it was people like Fannie Barrier Williams who helped light this torch. So it's now our turn to carry it and light it forward. So every time we speak up, we bear witness to, or help change something unfair, we are practicing resistance of racism, and we are living what it means to be a UU. So what does that look like? Well, if we can't protest, we protest in other ways. And so that's what we're going to be talking about with our students who aren't here. But we can continue this story during coffee hour, because if we can't go to these places, what does it look like and where do we go? Because yeah, I know there's food insecurity and a lot of these markets tend to have the cheapest foods. So where do we balance? But then I think of our neighbors across borders and they're suffering, and this is the way for me to stand. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I like Target, guys. But I also like America. And I feel proud to be a citizen, and I'm gonna do something. So let's join together and really take the theme this month to heart and show Dr. Martin Luther King that it's the you-yous around the world who are gonna save it. So amen to that, my friends.
We'll send the RE teachers off to school. Now is the time in our service where we share our joys, our sorrows, our crazy frustrations, I guess. So if you have something you'd like to share, please come up and tell us your name, and please briefly tell us why you want to light a candle. I'll light the candle for you just to make it easy.
Hi, my name's Isaiah, and I was so frustrated this week, as Tony could tell you, because I was trying to do a lot of work at the bank and at the RMV, and their hours of operation are the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my entire life. The RMV is only open from it's 9 to 4 or 5, I think, and my hours that I work are 10 to 6. And so me and Tony looked up, why aren't they open on the weekend? That'd be so convenient for 99% of the population, you would think. And it's because they just don't care about 99% of the population. That's not where their business is at normally. The bank more so than the RMV. But anyway, I was tearing my hair out this week, all because of the bank and RMV, and that's my concern.
Hello everyone, good morning. I'm Sri Lakshmi. I want to share my joy. It's been exactly 2 years of me moving to United States, and thank you. I have done a lot of things around, and I'm so happy to be in Bedford and coming to this church, and I found my people, everybody supporting me and loving me. Thank you so much.
Hey, we're so happy we're here. Come on up, Eric.
I'm Eric Kilburn, and I was very moved last night to see a video clip of Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota talking to the citizens of his state, saying, do not give the president what he wants. Do not protest violently. Protest. We are all angry. We all want ICE out of our state, but the way to do it is not with violence. And he said, record everything you see. You can protest as much as you want, but you can't attack these people because it's only going to make it worse. I just thought it was very moving, maybe 3-minute clip, and it really struck me as a great example of smart leadership in this incredible, weird world that we are living in now.
So I got home back from Pennsylvania about a week ago, but this whole week so far has been, I've been pretty sick. I think there's a whole flu flying around, and for the better part of this week, I was totally out of it. I'm pretty much, recovering now. So it's good that I can finally smell again. That's nice. So yeah, I'm just really thankful that I'm recovered.
Hi, my name is Camilla, and this has stayed with me all week. It was from the responsive reading last week. Don't leave your anger behind. It has high standards, and the world needs vision. That just stuck with me.
So I lit two final candles as our practice here, one for all the joys and sorrows we keep in our hearts today, and one for everyone out there who is yet to find a safe and loving and supportive community to share their joys and sorrows in. I do declare. Randy, who is that composer? Would you give us a little background about her? Just.
This is from a book of African-American female composers. Undine Smith, I might be mispronouncing the name.
Yep, Undine or Undine.
Smith Moore. Yeah, Karen had asked who the composer was. This is from a collection of Black women composers. The piece was written, 1953 by Undine Smith Moore. And apologies if I'm mispronouncing the first name. If there is ever a piece of music that is a piece of resistance, the final chord says "with a fist," as you heard. It's pretty intense.
Yeah, wow. And Undine is a water spirit, in case you were wondering. Our responsive reading, which is printed in your order of service, is from Martin Luther King. I will read the plain type, if you will answer with the bold. There are some things within our social order to which I am proud to be maladjusted, and to which I call upon you to be maladjusted. I never intend to become adjusted to a religious bigotry. I never intend to adjust myself to the madness of the militarism and the self-defeating effects of physical violence. Indeed, my friends. So as Yasmin had the idea of bringing in some female voices today too, so did I, and so much has been going on this week. I felt like we needed something to hear to focus us. So to me, it's also remembering a good time in the past, because I want to read The Hill We Climb by Amanda Gorman. And if you remember Barack Obama's whole thing, yeah, it seems like it was 50 years ago, right? But I was so proud of her that day, and I immediately went and looked up everything she had ever written. And so I want to read that today, and I hope it makes you feel a little better too. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace. And the norms and notions of what just isn't always justice. And yet the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time, where a skinny black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president only to find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, But that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge our union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. And so we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first. We must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true: that even as we grieved, we grew; that even as we hurt, we hoped; that even as we tired, we tried; that we'll be forever tied together, victorious, not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. Scripture tells us to envision that everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. If we are to live up to our own time, then the victory won't lie in the blade, but in the bridges we've made. That is the promise to glade, the hill we climb if only we dare it. Because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how to repair it. We've seen a force that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy. And this effort very nearly succeeded. But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated. In this truth, in this faith, we trust. For while we have our eyes on the future, history has its eyes on us. This is the era of just redemption we feared at its inception. We did not feel prepared to be the heirs of such a terrifying hour. But within it, we found the power to author a new chapter, to offer hope and laughter to ourselves. So once in a while, we ask, how could we possibly prevail over catastrophe? Now we assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be. A country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens. But one thing is certain: if we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy in change, our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left. With every breath from my bronze-pounded chest, we will raise this wounded world into a wondrous one. We will rise from the gold-limbed hills of the West. We will rise from the winds swept north, east, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rinsed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked South. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover in every known nook of our nation and every corner called our country. Our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge battered and beautiful. When day comes, when we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid, the new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light if only we are brave enough to see it, if only we are brave enough to be it. Amen. coolest organ. Our second reading is from Martin Luther King Jr. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the white citizen's counselor or the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate who is devoted to order rather than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal that you seek, but I can't agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time and who constantly advises the Negro to wait for a more convenient season. Now, we got a couple other hymns that we rarely do here, and I thought this was a good one to try. Number 150, 150. Please rise in body or spirit as you're willing and able.
All whose boast it is that we come of bearers brave and free. If there breathe on earth a slave, are we truly free and brave? If we do not feel the chain when it works another's pain, are we not base slaves indeed, slaves unwilling to be freed? Is true freedom but to break fetters for our own dear sake, and with leathern hearts forget we owe humankind a debt? No true freedom is to share when the chains that others wear, and with heart and hand to be earnest to make others free. They are slaves who fear to speak for the fallen and the weak. They are slaves who will not choose hatred, scoffing, and abuse, rather than in silence shrink from the truth they needs must think. They are slaves who dare not be in the right with two or three.
Have a seat. I like that hymn. Well, now is the time in our service, my friends, where we ask you for your kind donations toward the many good works of this church. And we sure do thank you for your generosity. Well, my church, resistance is our theme this month. Today we're celebrating the life of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was not a perfect man, but whose message we need to hear and absorb right now as we fight for our civil rights again in this sort of decrepit experiment that is America right now. I am going to tell you up front, I have been really upset all week, like roller coaster of emotions. I'm sure a lot of you have been too. I have felt so angry and helpless watching live feeds from Minnesota and like feeling like you can't even turn it off for a minute because something unimaginable and stupid will happen that I'm gonna have to try to respond to. So I'm a little overdone in my brain this week, but we're gonna try to get through this. And I'm thankful that I was guided this week by Reverend King and that I kept getting brought back to his words and having to sort of force myself to keep going back to remember why we're doing this week, Karen. Because he understood the inherent systemic racism in our country. He lived it. He saw through it. He called it out. He fought for it. And yes, he was killed for it. And that's the story that happens over and over in this country. When any minorities are given any power, there's a whole lot of much more powerful folks that are not having that. They are so threatened by the idea that everyone can and should be free and equal that they will readily deny others their rights, call them rioters and insurrectionists, and validate, even celebrate the abuse, terrorization, and murder of our citizens. And that's just what's happened in the first year of our government. As the president likes to say, it's unlike anything you've ever seen. And he's right about that. But when you're looking to make America great by returning to how it used to be, we know what we're doing. We're just rewriting the same racist propaganda, and we all know that. We aren't caught in a maze. We are going through a labyrinth over and over and over, knowing exactly how to get in and get out, but pretending we're really confused. As we read before, Dr. King said, "There are some things within our social order to which I am proud to be maladjusted, and to which I call upon you to be maladjusted." All those things he listed that we didn't intend to adjust to, right? Didn't intend to adjust to racism, inequality, poverty, violence. They're still here. They're thriving. They're growing. So it looks like we have managed somehow to adjust to it, my people, just enough to get along. Stay safe. Stay comfortable, avoid stress, don't get me anxious. Second reading from Dr. King talks about how just as much harm was done to the end goal of equality, not by the obvious racists like the KKK, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, "I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action," who lives by a mythical concept of time, constantly advises to wait for a convenient season. Says a lot about us that more convenient season still isn't here. I do not see it forecast. The abolition of slavery wasn't convenient because rich plantation owners needed free labor to keep their wealth and their power and states' rights. Reconstruction wasn't convenient once it started working and blacks were elected to office and started to grow their own wealth. We burned their towns to the ground and took that wealth back. The civil rights movement was not convenient because the middle class was very comfortable being very comfortable. And even though they might have thought it was unfair, what really happened? It's no longer convenient to talk about real history in this country because we would have to admit that we have failed. We have failed in this whole idea of establishing liberty and justice for all. We would have to admit that it has never been so, and it was never meant to be for everyone. We would have to admit and understand that comfortable opposition does very little to affect change in the real world when the world is where it is now, as much as it didn't when Dr. King was alive. And those are some big, tough pills to swallow, my church. But I think white supremacy will never stop without our own white discomfort. We got to get there. Lots of abolitionists thought that subscribing to the right publications, Substacks, attending the right lectures, casting the right votes, feeling on the right side of history, feeling like they were on the right side of history was enough. My friend Henry David Thoreau said that they were still hesitating, regretting, petitioning, but doing nothing in earnest and with effect. They know not what to do, so they do nothing, Thoreau said. It's kind of like offering thoughts and prayers every time we have a mass shooting, right? And Thoreau was not the pacifist that a lot of people make him out to be, by the way. Read Civil Disobedience and listen to what he thought about John Brown. What we have done in the past is not, never has been enough. And we all need to come together right now because there is no time to sit back and just see what will happen anymore when armed, masked forces are hunting immigrants door to door in Minnesota, of all places. We have cities being terrorized all over this country. And we know that there is about to be an upswing right here in Massachusetts, my friends, in our own communities. So people are scared. I'm scared. That's the point. That is the point. I know everyone in this room was horrified this week by the murder of Renee Cole Good. This nice lady, mom, who was calmly trying to get away from an angry man in broad daylight in front of her wife and her dog after she dropped off her kid to daycare. And her last words, given with a smile, were, "I'm not mad at you, man." And when I saw that, it made me think right away to Margaret Atwood. She's got this quote, "Men are afraid of women laughing at them. Women are afraid of men killing them." And that's just how it played out. And I guess I was not so secretly grateful that she was a white woman, because I knew she was not the first to be killed by ICE. And I knew that because she was white, and it was also such a flagrant execution in broad daylight and misuse of power caught on several cameras, And for goodness sakes, her last name was Good. I really thought more people might actually take notice and get out there. And they did. They did, and they still are, right now, out in Minneapolis in droves. And I'm really proud of that community. But I could list almost 50 names right now, mostly foreign names, that have died in ICE custody or have been shot or maimed, even this week, who didn't seem to matter quite as much. We cannot accept any of this as normal. We are called not to just be deeply maladjusted to it, but to change it. Real resistance that creates real change is not and cannot be passive. Our history of liberals and progressives that actively protected the status quo might have helped the cause of freedom from slavery, but what did we really do for the black community after slavery, after civil rights? We allowed them to be pushed down again at every opportunity with some kind of abstract moral calculus that was rigged against them from the start. We figure that if it doesn't hurt us directly, we don't need to get involved. Inaction is harm. We have to understand that because none of us are safe anymore, my friends. You are living in a delusion if you think you're safe because you are white. There's a quote often attributed to Martin Luther King, but I couldn't confirm this. It says, "We may have all come on different ships, but we are in the same boat now." In my church, that's a prophecy coming true. So I hope you have some rations packed and a med kit, because we're going to be out on some uncharted waters for a lot of us. And I have a few suggestions to navigate the storms to come, which we will talk about out there and not on the internet. We are moving beyond maladjusted, and we need to have some real action plans. Dr. King insisted on nonviolent protests because he believed in the power of love, and he craved peace because there had been so much turmoil, but also because he knew that his people would be shot, attacked by dogs, have hoses turned on them, beaten down with clubs, if they got rowdy at all. Just gathering in large numbers was enough to make the police feel threatened. He didn't want to give them any excuse for those who marched to be called animals or radicals. So similarly, we have got to keep our protests nonviolent, though you definitely have to use all the tools in your belts to make them uncomfortable and document everything, as we said. If you want to be an animal, make it a blow-up animal, okay? The leaders of the regime are looking for any excuse to toss out the Insurrection Act and declare martial law, and we cannot play into their hands. Please. Dr. King stressed the need for courageous, intelligent, and dedicated leadership. Leaders of sound integrity. Leaders not in love with publicity, but in love with justice. Leaders not in love with money, but in love with humanity. Leaders who can subject their particular egos to the greatness of the cause. We have to be those leaders, my friends, and we have to vote those kinds of leaders to lead. We cannot let hate drag us down and divide us. I have decided to stick with love, Dr. King said. Hate is too great a burden to bear. And I know we're feeling that burden of anger and hate. But that's why we come here, my friends. Let us not forget, church, that as much as we are talking about our political climate of the day, this is not about politics. This is about our principles and how we live in the world. It's about being human and how we believe we should treat each other, to be good to each other. Dr. King made this prophetic statement: the trouble isn't so much that we don't know enough, but it's as if we aren't good enough. The trouble isn't so much that our scientific genius lags behind, but our moral genius lags behind. The great problem facing modern man is that the means by which we live have outdistanced the spiritual ends for which we live. So we find ourselves caught in a messed up world. The problem is with man himself and man's soul. We haven't learned how to be just and honest and kind and true and loving. And that is the basis of our problem. The real problem is that through our scientific genius, we've made of the world a neighborhood, but through our moral and spiritual genius, we failed to make it a brotherhood. He was already seeing what was happening long before we literally have this world neighborhood through the internet, right? And even given the opportunity that we have for so much connecting and understanding, we continue to fail on the brotherhood part, right? And that's on us. That's on us. We have to own it. We are not helpless to change it. As we approach the 250th anniversary of this shaky democratic republic we established, it's kind of crumbling right before our eyes, right? Every day, one more little part of our foundation is dismantled. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. We're at this crossroads again where we have to choose to keep the ideals that we continue to strive for. And I'm proud that we're still standing up for those original ideals, even if they haven't been achieved. As flawed as our system is in our country, I still believe that the desire for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is in the hearts of most of us, and it is a really worthy goal. I am just not sure what we have to work with anymore. Knowing that it's failed and that we need to rebuild better if we want this endless loop to stop, if we want to get out of that maze. And we all have to change to accomplish that. King said, I am convinced that if we are to get on the right side of the world revolution, we as a nation must undergo a radical revolution of values. We must rapidly begin the shift from a thing-oriented society to a person-oriented society. When machines and computers, profit motives and property rights are considered more important than people, the giant triplets of racism, extreme materialism, and militarism are incapable of being conquered. He hit that nail right on the head. The status quo has to go, and it will not go gently into that good night, my friends. You have some hard times ahead. It's going to get messy. And we just don't know what's coming next, which is the scariest part, right? Take a breath. We're going to prepare. We will fight. We will keep the faith. We will face it together and help each other and our neighbors in every way we can. Ain't going to let this be normal, my friends. This is a call to be maladjusted enough to create the new world we want. Let it begin with me, let it begin with you, let it begin today. Now go out and do something good for somebody else, all right? Amen. And let's see, we have another hymn that we very rarely do. And I actually found this hymn because I hadn't heard it, and I put it on YouTube, and I could have sworn it was Tony Ann that was singing it already off camera, and I was like, oh, Tony Ann, is that you? It was not. But I said, well, I'd still like to hear her sing it. So it's number 148, 148. Please rise in body or spirit as you are willing and able. Let freedom span from east to west.
Let freedom span both east and west, and love both south and north, in universal fellowship throughout the wide earth. In beauty, wonder, let us communion bind, compassion be the golden cord, close binding humankind. Beyond all barriers of race, of color, caste, or creed, let us make friendship, human worth, our common faith and deed. Then east and west will meet and share, and south shall build with north, one human commonwealth of good throughout the whole wide earth.
Closing words are from Desmond Tutu. If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. There is something in us that refuses to be regarded as less than human. We are created for freedom. Hold fast, my church. We love you. Stay strong, live long and prosper. Go in peace. Stay warm out there. All right, have a seat. Cool bunch of music today, Randy. Thanks. All right, come on, let's go have some coffee.